everyone. Welcome to Tri-State Media Services. I'm here with Katee Neltner. She is running for Boyd County Attorney. I'm Tammie Grant, and this is Your Story, Our Lens. Katee, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I appreciate you all having me on the show.
You're
to
welcome.
Start off. Like she said, my name is Katee Neltner. I'm running for Boyd County Attorney. I am just a local individual that has taken an interest in politics here lately. Originally from Cincinnati, grew up in Northern Kentucky, and following law school, ended up permanently back here in Eastern Kentucky. So around 2013, I moved back. I'm a mom. I've got two beautiful kids.
How old are they?
Well, Harper is 9 and Parker is 8. He just turned 8. And then been married to my husband for 3 years. He's an Ashland native.
Okay.
He's a Tomcat.
Uh-oh.
That was a problem when we met.
Tomcat.
I was coaching volleyball over at Boyd County. And,
yes, big rivalry.
Yeah, I heard about it for a minute
Yes.
until he started wearing scarlet. So that's who I am, local attorney. I've been practicing in the area since 2018. And I spend my days with my kids, my husband, coaching high school or training at the Y, and then practicing law.
Yeah. Now you're stationed in Huntington, did you say? Is that where your firm is?
Correct. Our firm currently is located, home base is in Huntington, but we're a tri-state firm. We manage cases throughout Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky.
Yeah, tri-state areas. I mean, that's what we do too.
Sure. When I first moved here, I was when I was first licensed, it was only Kentucky. And my first boss said, I think I want you licensed in Ohio. So I did a little bit of research and realized that if I could get licensed in West Virginia, I could then transfer it over to Ohio. So I would only have to take one more bar exam. And that seemed a lot more appealing than 2 bar exams.
Right.
So that's what I did. And it's been really one of the best decisions because it's never precluded employment. And it gives me the ability to really not ever turn a client away for locality, and where you have your law license is where you have to practice. So if I just kept Kentucky, I wouldn't be able to service anyone in West Virginia or Ohio.
So where did you go to school at?
College, I went to Kentucky Christian University over in Grayson.
Awesome.
Spent 4 years there, played volleyball there.
Yeah.
And
did you get a scholarship there?
I didn't. It was a little bit of a winding road to end up there. I had broken my back when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
Playing volleyball. So a lot of my options were precluded at that point in time due to back surgery and range of motion and the potential that playing or continuing my career would cause further injuries. So met with the coach there. My sister was going to school there. My grandparents had graduated from KCU back when it was KCC, and so it was kind of just a little family legacy. Ended up there, played for 4 years, had a great experience, and then when I graduated there, I ended up at Capital University Law School up in Columbus.
Wow, that's amazing. I admire you. I've been researching you a little bit.
Thank you.
For a woman to do this kind of work, it's hard at times, to even think about that.
Correct.
Because you've got so much on your plate.
Sure.
A woman usually does.
Sure. Statistically, I think back, at least when I was in law school, I haven't checked lately, but women made up about 33% of the legal population. I think that it's probably grown in the last decade since I've been in law school. But it's definitely a man's world, a man's legal world. But it's been great. That's one thing that I've always had is phenomenal partners who are married to strong female lawyers.
Yes.
All of my current partners have wives that have been to law school and are licensed.
That's awesome.
And so they've never looked at me as lesser. So it's been a great experience in my legal career.
Wow, that's amazing. I was telling Michael, I was looking at your Facebook a little bit and was looking at some of your commercials that you had on there. I'm like, man, she's a little spitfire. That's what I said, wasn't it? Yeah, she's a little spitfire. So
they probably
that's what we like.
You all probably shouldn't give me a mic sometimes, but why not?
Why are you running for Boyd County Attorney? What provoked you to want to do this?
So it was a whole series of events
Okay.
that have kind of just snowballed into me actually taking the plunge. So we had some personal experiences that my husband went through with the county attorney's office,
Okay.
and in identifying some of those issues, and in talking to my husband, I had determined that if I could make a difference and I could make a change, that I should do it. And so I had been approached quite a few months ago, and I had officially said, politics aren't for me.
Right.
I'm not a politician. Nothing about campaigning sounds like it's enjoyable. And quite honestly, you know, sometimes you have that imposter syndrome that someone can do it better. But when you think about it, if there's somewhere that you identify that change can be made and you have the opportunity to make change, then not taking that opportunity is really a character flaw. So I decided that I thought I could enact change. And I told my husband, and he was supportive. I spoke to my partners. They, too, were supportive. And, really just said, give it heck. So here we are.
Yay. Wow, that sounds amazing. Now, what all does the county attorney do as far as their job goes?
Sure. So the county attorney has a myriad of responsibilities, and a lot of people associate it with pure prosecution of crimes. So the first thing that you think about when you think county attorney is the prosecution of the misdemeanors. So they handle misdemeanors and juvenile offenses. And juvenile offenses are broken down into two different types of offenses, status and public. So they deal with status offenses in our juvenile population, such as truancy or curfew violations. And then public offenses that would be a crime if you were an adult. So assaults, petty theft, possession, stuff like that. So that is the criminal aspect. Anything in district court, our county attorney typically touches. But there's also a ton of other responsibilities. They are responsible for delinquent tax collection, which would bring revenue to the county. They're the number one fiscal court legal advisor. So anything that the fiscal court typically would need as a legal advisor, the county attorney should be providing. That restricts the need for outside counsel and incurring additional fees for that. They do enforcement of the child support orders. So a lot of people don't know, but the county attorney is over the child support enforcement office that's located there in Catlettsburg. And they are really the vehicle of enforcing those orders. So if a judge passes an order in a child support case, indicates that an individual should be paying X amount of dollars to child support office, and the county attorney is supposed to ensure that that A is being paid and that it's accurately being paid.
Right.
If anything gets delayed or in arrears or there's a failure to pay, the county attorney has the ability to go ahead and file against the individual that's not making payment. So that's a huge part of their job, and a large part of their case management is found in the child support enforcement office.
Wow.
There's a variety of other things they do.
There's a lot of stuff. Wow.
Yeah. They touch some guardianship. Kentucky recently just got Casey's Law, which enables family members to be able to commit individuals that are in active addiction to a rehab facility.
Now, would you be over that too?
Yep, the county attorney helps the families go ahead and get that individual placed at a rehab facility.
That's good.
So
that's a big one in our area too.
It is. It's a struggle. I think we're all aware of how the drug epidemic has touched Eastern Kentucky.
Right. Oh. So is there anything else that?
Lord, I don't know. I think that's about it. I mean, there's probably some things that I'm missing right off the top of my head. There's a myriad of things that the county attorney office touches, and I'm not sure that the general population understands everything that the county attorney is responsible for.
If you got county attorney, what would you change?
Firstly, I have run on an increased communication. We just went through the various avenues that the county attorney touches the public. And I think increased communication in every scenario is absolutely necessary at that point in time, from the victims of a crime having access. There's a victim's advocate, making sure that they're updated on the status of the claim, law enforcement, increasing communications across law enforcement. I've talked to several of our individuals in law enforcement about the possibility of enacting even just a monthly report that gives them a
Right.
rundown of the status of the claims and the evidence packets that they filed, because that's been a concern, is that there has been almost a stalemate on the information that they're submitting. Increasing the communication and with the fiscal court and making sure that those avenues are open so the fiscal court is aware and trusting the advice of the county attorney, making sure that we're being good stewards of county money.
Right.
Making sure that we are minimizing the need for outside counsel. And so really I think it all starts with an increase in communication against all agencies and all avenues that the county attorney touches.
Now, do you think that that's going on right now?
I do not believe so. From the myriad of conversations, when I started this potential campaign, political career, whatever we want to categorize it as, my one commitment was to learn. I didn't know. I had been asked, I had been spoken to, we had multiple conversations, but I didn't know what it entailed. I was like the general population.
Exactly.
It doesn't touch my life on the daily, so I needed to be informed and I need to be educated. So that was one of the commitments that I made, is that I was going to have conversations, and I was going to have a lot of conversations, and I was going to learn from the people that do it daily. So
there you go.
I've talked to various professionals in all sorts of avenues that touch the county attorney's office to just try and learn. And, what are the needs? What are the issues? Where can we improve? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What are ways that your office or your profession could be better served by the county attorney's office? And that has really opened my eyes to a myriad of potential issues that need addressed. But number one would be communication. Communication.
And that's a biggie whenever you're communicating with anything as far as the government goes.
Correct. People need to be heard.
Yes.
They need to feel like they're being heard, and they need to be understood. And even if you can't solve their problem, it goes a long way that they know that you're trying. And you can't enact change if you're not having communications regarding the change.
Right. I agree. You're a very strong woman.
Oh, I appreciate that.
We've been sitting here talking for a little bit and just kind of going over things, and there's a lot of things that I didn't realize with you, but we're going to be having a show not too down the road, just a little bit. Would you come on our show?
Absolutely.
It's for ladies that empowering. And I feel like that you're very empowering.
Well, I am flattered. I would love to. We talked about it earlier, is that I'm such a strong advocate for strong, intelligent, capable women in every space. We deserve a seat at the table. We deserve to be heard and be spoken, and we deserve to be listened to. And, that starts with being educated and being intelligent. And I'm not talking about schooling or anything like that. I'm talking about that when we want to be heard and we want to be taken seriously, just to be educated on the topics and, push for that change. I think that's huge. So I would be flattered.
Yes. We'd be flattered to have you.
Thank you.
I've asked Suzanne Griffith. She's one of them. And do you know Leanne Gollihue?
I do. She does the Random Acts of Cody Kindness, correct?
So
I have followed
her. She's a very strong, empowering lady too.
I have followed that movement since I have moved back into the area. So it's amazing when people can take tragedy and change that to help others.
Right, and that's what she's done. She's done 2 podcasts with us so far. We're supposed to be doing a third one, and she's wanting to do foster care too. But she's been a big advocate on just helping, the community, and that's what empowering women do.
Correct.
I feel like.
I think that it's amazing. Women are amazing.
Yeah.
And to be able to fight through tragedy and enact change, and to make sure that you're touching people's lives.
Yes. Amen. Is there anything else you would like to talk about as far as the office goes? What all you would want to do?
I have several ideas. I don't know how long you want to be here.
Oh, that's okay. Let's hear it. I want to hear.
I can't talk on a lot. I've done some open records requests here lately.
Okay.
That goes to, I just want to educate myself. I want to know where the county is the position. So talking about delinquent taxes, the county attorney is in charge of, once the tax goes delinquent, they are now the enforcer of, recouping those taxes from the county, which would obviously put more money back into the county, which we all know right now, Boyd County. Eastern Kentucky as a whole struggling. I mean, the economy around us is tough, and we've been dealt a hand, but to make sure that the county is getting the reimbursement that it needs. So that's something I've looked into, and enacting a change and a push on the collection of those delinquent taxes, which is probably not a view or a highlight. That's probably not something that they're increasingly looking forward to, but it's a responsibility of the county attorney.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, Child Support Enforcement Office, there's a million things that I could say about the family court system and some of the inequities that I feel occur. However, it's the county attorney's position to be able to enforce those child support orders, make sure we're doing that effectively.
And that's what your job is just to enforce it. You don't have anything to do with how much they're going to be paying or anything.
Correct. So just the ability to enforce that, make sure that we're doing that adequately and accurately. There's two sides of the coin. There's the payor who's paying and is trusting that the court system is in the best interest of the child and that they are paying what needs to be paid to provide for their child. And that what they're ordered is what they're actually paying, and that's on the county attorney to make sure that is happening. Is that, if that means auditing every file, which I think is above 2,000 files at this point in time. And then the other side of the coin is making sure that the individuals, the payees that are receiving the money are receiving the money. And I know that sounds so trite to say when you say it out loud, but making sure that the enforcement is occurring. So that our people have the money that's owed to them and that they need to raise their children. So, I think our children are one of our most valuable assets, and the economy is not being kind to anyone, so making sure that they're getting the money that they are owed due by the court orders.
When you do an audit, how do they do that? Do you know?
I have been through a couple of them with my husband. And I have seen the work product, but I have not seen the process. So my understanding is there's some sort of graph that occurs, and I'm going to sound super unintelligent about this because I just have no access to it. What we receive each time we've had an audit run, it's basically a graph that says that this is what's owed, these are the payments made, and it rectifies basically an accounting of what you've paid versus either what was owed or in arrears, or just maintaining your monthly payment. So if you're owed $500, or if you owe $500 a month and you made payments across your two paychecks, making sure that it's $250. And you basically get a graph that they produce for you that they hand over and say, this is where, and it tells you where you're at, whether you're in arrears, whether you are overpaid. So basically it's just an accounting of your child support file.
Wow. That is something that I never understood. Why? I wonder why that you can't be accountable for that, though, as far as the money spent on child support and stuff.
Sure. I think it goes back to kind of the legislative idea that they don't want to mess with the family unit. If you look historically throughout the legal process in the judicial system, the family unit is the most sacred of, all units. The government doesn't want to touch. Theoretically. But I think it plays back to that the government doesn't want to be able to be, and quite honestly, who wants the government overreaching and saying, you've got to do X, Y, and Z? Should there be parameters on it? There's probably an argument either way. Child support is one of those trigger conversations we talked about a little bit before, is that it's one of you have very strong feelings one way or another, but the one thing everyone can agree with is that it's not run efficiently.
And there needs to be change in that, too.
Correct. And I think that reform would have to start with the legislature. So,
I feel like that they should be able to go back so many years, too, and evaluate it. I mean, is that something that the county attorney can do? Or is that just through the lawyers?
That would just be through the family court system. All the county attorney has the authority to do is enforce what the court has passed down to them or what the agreed order. So when you're in a custody battle or just a custody suit, sometimes they don't have to be battles, but typically when two parties can agree, they can say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You're going to do X, Y, and Z. This is our agreement with our kids. We're going to sign it. Judge signs it. Gets submitted. Others are a little more tumultuous, and they required the actual court intervention. And there's a calculator. Kentucky has a calculator that would determine what that specific is based on a myriad of factors. Income from both parties.
So they do consider both parties then?
They consider both parties' income. There's a factor that they could consider if an individual's not working, what their potential to work based on their education, background, potential training. I'm not a family lawyer, so I may be speaking a little bit out of turn, but there's a ton of factors that go into what that, I mean, who's paying insurance, who's paying daycare, who's paying extracurriculars. So it's a whole mathematical procedure that I couldn't even begin to explain to you. To get it ordered. But once that number is set by the judge or by agreed order signed by the judge, that order then should be transmitted to the child support office so that they can enforce that order.
Nice. Okay. Katee, tell me about your coaching. I heard that you're a volleyball coach. Is that right?
I am. I was a volleyball player. I think we talked about it a little bit. I played at KCU, played it all my life. When I went to law school, there's a thing about being an athlete, especially a college athlete, that you graduate and it's like a culture shock. Your identity is gone.
Right.
And I quickly filled that void because law school doesn't give you a minute to grieve yourself. It just says, here you go.
Oh, I could only imagine.
And so went to law school a couple years, came back here, and I was just minding my business one day, and I got a text message from, it was actually the niece of a girl that I played college ball with, and super close to the family, and Taylor messaged me and said, would you be interested in coaching? And I was like, maybe. And I was very, very pregnant at the time with Harper, and I had just registered for the bar. So I had, we talked a little bit earlier, but I had delayed taking the bar, and for a myriad of life reasons. And I was getting ready to sit for the bar. And I remembered I put in an application over at Boyd County. And I met and had my interview with Pete Fraley over there.
Oh, I love Pete.
And he was great to me and my program. But I didn't get the job that year.
Really?
I sat for the interview, and I could not start immediately because I was getting ready to take the bar. And I was like, I need to do this. And so I had declined, and then they needed someone right that time, and I just couldn't do it. So they hired someone else. And then the next season, I got the same message. Katee, would you be interested in coaching? And at that time, I don't remember if I had another interview with Pete or not, or if he just said, come on, sis, let's do it. And so I took over that program, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Awesome.
Met so many good people. I was there for 6.5 seasons. And then had a great time. We took a losing program. They had been 0-35 when I took over. I didn't know that when I took the program. I just knew they were struggling, and just taught good fundamental ball. And I'm telling you, I had such great girls. It was such a phenomenal group of female athletes and families that I was privileged to coach, and they really made it. I was tough, and I was loud, and I still am, but it was such a good experience.
Trying to get your point across, right?
That's what sometimes I'm not yelling at your kid, I'm just yelling to your kid, and it's so loud. But we took a program that was 0-35 and ended up at the Elite Eight at the state tournament 3 years in a row.
Wow. That's amazing there.
Yep. That third season, Jamie Clark, or the third appearance at the Elite Eight, Jamie Clark, who's their current head coach, one of my best friends, took him to that Elite Eight. Then I took over Raceland, not this past season, but the year before that, and we ended up region runner-up. Same thing at Raceland, has phenomenal girls, phenomenal families. And that's so huge in our sports. But the one thing, I've always loved volleyball, and I never thought I had an avenue back into a sport that I spent so much of my youth in. And coaching, it's a different type. It's super frustrating because you have to give up control. I don't have control. I can teach you, I can tell you, we can show you, we can practice it, we can run it out of you. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to do it. But it's such a great experience and such an honor to have so many young females be able to come up through our program. And we really center our program, me and my assistant coaches, through the years. Right now I have a co-head coach. He was a Green Up. Eric has been with me for years in the club scene, and he's a phenomenal human. And we really center our programs on making them well-rounded. So, you know, I always lead my parent meeting with the fact that this world is hard for women. It's unforgiving. It's scary. And you're getting ready to send your girls out into a world that hates you. And I said, so, you know, I did not have tons of direction. My mother was phenomenal, but, you know, my college coach made the difference in my life.
And who was your college coach?
His name is Bruce Dixon. He was at KCU. He coached the volleyball program for years, was the AD over there. He recently retired a couple years ago, I think, and moved down to Florida. And I was like, well, you lucky dog, you. But but he's a phenomenal human. He gave me support and instruction and discipline.
Discipline is a big one.
When my mouth needed it. That's one of the things that I am loud and people think I'm a little too harsh. Our girls are so tough. And they can take tough coaching, and they can take the hard lessons, and they need the hard lessons. And, you know, a lot of people have kind of backed off on our youth and this generation. It's not this generation. It's the parents of this generation.
That's what I was getting ready to say that. Parents, it's the worst.
You know, parents are such, it's a catch-22. You need them, and they're so great to your program. And then also on the odd, you're like, God, I need you to take a breath. But these students, they crave discipline when they get it, and they achieve. It's so affirming, and it's so great for their egos and their developments and their pride and the perseverance and everything that it's going to take to succeed out there, for them to have the structure and the discipline. And they love it, you know. They don't like me in the moment.
But they're blessed to have you, though. Well, to look up to. I appreciate that. Because you are such a strong woman.
Well, I appreciate that. Hope that they feel that way as well.
I'm sure you will down the road. They'll come back to you and tell you that, because,
you know, that's one thing I've learned in coaching. We talked about earlier that I have made more people upset with coaching decisions than I have in one of the most adversarial career choices, and that's being an attorney. So, but it's been great. It's been great for my family. We don't have family local, so the community that we've gained, and especially when I was a single mom, you know, having those relationships and those people. And my kids don't know what to do if they're not in a gym. They always anticipate that there's some sort of practice or time that they could be spending somewhere. Harper's 9, and she's a phenomenal volleyball player already, because she'll just get right out there for the high school girls. So it's great. Coaching takes a lot out of you, mentally, emotionally, physically, but I'd always encourage, if you have the opportunity to pour into our youth, just do it.
Amen. Just do it. So, have you been out and about, like, campaigning any at all, as far as?
You know, I've stayed mainly on social media.
Okay.
We did the parade. We've done a couple parades, which are fun. My children enjoyed that. You know, but just going to meetings, I've talked to a lot of the unions, I've talked to the FOP. Really, my idea of campaigning is just talking. So we were a little late to the party with the weather to get the signs up, which is fine. I told my husband, I don't really know. Back before the blizzard hit, I said, I don't really want to put signs up, because if we get any substantial amount of snow, I'm going to have to go right back out there. So those are currently processed but we just can't pick them up because of the weather. So those will be out soon. We've had a huge response on signs. We plan on going door to door in the springtime when it gets a little bit warmer, and just talk to people the the response that I've had on social media is great. It's given me the opportunity to open doors. Really, the best thing that's been for this campaign is just the personal connections.
Right.
People that I know reach out to people they know. They share my stuff. I get DMs on the daily. I get phone calls, and I'm very open with people. Like, if you want to sit down and talk, and if you want to keep it anonymous, we'll keep it anonymous, because those are some concerns that people have, and I'm very open with people on, I don't know everything, but I am willing to learn. I'm willing to educate myself, and that's one of the things I've sat down with the administrators at schools. Truancy and absenteeism in our schools are a huge issue right now. I've sat down and talked to them. Our caseworkers, our CDWs and our state workers in the courthouse will tell you, and our schools will tell you, they're like a 30% absenteeism rate, and that affects funding, and that affects kids. So one of my real goals if I'm elected as county attorney, is that I really want to take a strong push to try and get our kids back in schools. And I think that's going to come with a myriad of problems. So, when you look at it as a front, it just looks like 30% of our school population is not present at school. But when you break that down, you need to know the percentage of those that are transportation issues.
Right.
They're mental health crises. They're an addiction problem. Very few of our students are just flippant and not showing up. It's typically a need-based.
Yes.
So I think that's huge, and I think that's important. And again, if the conversations aren't occurring, then you can't fix the problems. But I think that the county attorney could be a huge resource for AR schools in getting kids back enrolled. And if that means reaching out as the county attorney, you talk to some of our principals, and they say, well, I'm just the principal. They're tired of hearing me talk. So with the county attorney comes a little bit more authority. People are typically, willing to listen, when it comes to the justice system. So I think just the county attorney taking an active role in what those concerns are and what is keeping our kids from school. If it's a transportation issue, then there's resources in the county that can get involved. And if it's a mental health crisis, then there's, again, so many avenues that we could be helping and assisting these families. But if you're not having the conversations about what the need are, you can't do anything. And it does no one any good to just say, throw them on diversion plans. There has to be some sort of accountability, and so I would really like, to just lead with empathy and compassion. And people don't like that theory when you're talking about someone who's supposed to be enforcing the law.
Right.
But the law doesn't have to be void of empathy or compassion. I think apathy in the law is where we start to get in trouble. So I think that there's discretion in the county attorney's position to be able to make decisions that could ultimately, affect our youth and our families and help our counties grow. When you have educated youth, that goes a long way for, progressiveness in your counties.
Right.
Making sure your kids are heard and thought of and connected with, and just that little bit of accountability. And, my husband said it best, is that too many times we paint the youth as troubled, and then they carry that into their young adulthood, and then they're dealing with issues that they never should have had to deal with if it could have been stopped at the truancy level or any of those other status offenses, even low-level, public offenses, small possession and petty theft, stuff like that. If we can intervene earlier, I think that could change the outlook.
That's the key
of our county.
Get involved,
But you got to have the conversation.
You've got to get out there. You can't just show up when you want to. You
can't fix a problem if you're not present.
That's right. Amen on that one. Say that again, would you?
You can't fix a problem if you're not present.
That's what I love. I love that. That sounds good. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about as far as the office itself?
I would like to just add that the staff are phenomenal. I have not had one singular conversation with any critic that has been a critic of the staff in the county attorney's office. I know several of them personally, phenomenal humans.
Yeah, good.
And so I always want to try and be clear that my campaign and the premises that I'm running on and the thoughts and that I have will only build on the education and the value that they already bring to the county attorney's office.
They've all worked up there for quite a while, haven't they?
That's my understanding, yeah. And, when you do your job well, that should be rewarded. I have no intention of, if I'm elected, coming in and cleaning house.
Yeah.
I have every intention, if I'm elected, to come in and learn.
Yeah.
Be educated by the people that have been doing the hard work over the last couple of years. So, I always try and make it clear in my post that this is not personal and it's not an attack on the individuals in the office. This is an attack on, the establishment as a whole and how I think that it can be better.
Well, all right. Well, look in the camera over there and tell everybody why you want to be Boyd County Attorney.
My name is Katee Neltner, and I am running for Boyd County Attorney because I think that I can make a difference in our county. I think that starts with communication. I think that the avenues and the conversations that I've been having over the last couple months can keep going, and then we can enact real change in the county attorney's office that benefits the people of Boyd County. I ask that you follow my social media page. It's Katee Neltner for Boyd County Attorney. It's on Facebook. And I invite you to ask questions. I beg you to do your research and be an informed voter come May 19th, 2026.
All right. Let me ask you one question. If we got a debate together, would you be interested in a debate with your opponent?
Sure. I will preface that with saying we talked about it a little bit earlier, but, I'm not running for a county commissioner's spot. I'm not running for a judge exec. I believe those positions, they can come in and tell you, this is the economic development that I'm going to bring to the county. These are the jobs that we can bring, or these are the businesses, or these are what I can do with taxes. This is, all of the things that they can make those promises. I don't have that ability where I'm running for county attorney. So, my campaign has been based on bringing you the facts of what the current administration is doing and how I believe I can do that better. Now, it's not a personal attack on any individual, but it is a way of saying there's no way for me to say this is what I'm going to do better without it inherently saying it's not occurring. So you run a clean campaign, you run a progressive campaign, you hope to tell people this is the A, B's, and C's of what I want to do. And I hope people get that out of the campaign, is that the only way I can tell you how I can better the program and the county is to show you where I believe it's falling short at this point in time. So I would be happy to have a conversation. How that shapes up as a debate, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to talk.
We don't even have to call it a debate.
Right.
We can sit down and have a conversation.
I think a conversation about what's occurring and how we as a county can move forward. Because regardless of what official is elected, the county needs to have that promise of progression.
And that's the key to it all, right there. Katee, if you could say one thing to your opponent, what would that be?
I think if I could just say one thing, it would be that this isn't personal. That when I wake up in the morning, I ask myself, how can I bring value? And even in the situations where it's uncomfortable, and even in the situations where accountability is needed, and I hope that he is willing to do the same.
Awesome. All right.